So this is pretty terrible. This is an update to the Jari Wise story. A woman has been sentenced to 8 months in jail for killing her ex-boyfriend in a DUI. This is a follow-up to this story, the story of Jari Wise. I did a video about a year ago. I put a link in the description below where you can see the old articles about it. But basically, a woman killed her boyfriend in a DUI when she got drunk and went driving and crashed into him. And her sentence has come in, and she's been sentenced to 8 months in prison for this DUI death. But when you read the details and when you read what the judge says, it's really hard to believe or understand. Take a look. So again, watch my old video or read the articles. I put the links to the original articles in this description too, but really this article from 2 days ago kind of explains everything you need to know. It says, Melissa Oates jailed over car crash in which partner Jari Wise died. A Tasmanian woman will spend 8 months in prison for a dangerous driving incident in which her former partner died last year. Melissa Oates, 35, was 3 times over the legal blood alcohol limit. So 3 times over. She was very drunk when she was driving along Wilmot Road near Hirenville at 110 kilometers per hour in the early hours of February 29th last year when her vehicle hit her former partner Jari Wise, who died at the scene. Okay, so that's the first thing to keep in mind. This was not just like a regular accident, which does happen. I mean, it does happen. Sometimes people aren't doing anything wrong, but it's just human error, and people do get killed in car accidents. That does happen. This isn't that. Okay, this is 3 times over the legal limit. To make matters worse, it was hit and run, as you'll see. Oates did not stop to render assistance and continued driving back to the address where she and Mr. Wise had been drinking earlier that evening. Now, it's an interesting thing to note. They were in the same place before drinking, but he was walking and she was driving. So I wondered, did she know where he was going to be? Now, keep that point in the back of your minds when I read this next part. It may mean nothing, but it's just something to think about. But Ms. Oates went on to basically blame Jari Wise for jumping in the way of the car, which is actually what she said. But even worse, which I'll get to in a little bit, is what the judge said about it. But take a look. Witnesses said Oates pointed out the damage to her car when she arrived and said Mr. Wise came out in front of her. She had returned to the scene by the time police arrived, with one officer describing her as being highly intoxicated and crying out, "Why did he jump out in front of me?" Justice Gregory Geeson said during sentencing. Okay, but something interesting there is how, again, why did he jump out in front of me when he had just left from the same place, I assume before, if he was on foot? So did she know where he was going to be? So something about that was just, besides the fact that she's blaming him, is just something about this is very strange. But look at what the judge said. And this is where it becomes a men's rights case, at least in my opinion, because this would absolutely no way 100% happen if the genders were reversed. And we've seen so many examples of this. I mean, I've done so many videos on this channel, specifically the UK and Australia, where the justice systems work in 2 different ways based on your gender. Oates, not legally responsible for death. Judge. And listen to why. Justice Geeson said Oates was not legally responsible for Mr. Wise's death because it could not be ruled out that he had jumped in front of her car. So she's not legally responsible for killing someone when she hit them with her car when she was drunk. So someone is driving drunk and then hits a pedestrian and kills them, but they're not legally responsible because it can't be proven that the person didn't jump out in front of their car. So if someone goes to the supermarket and they have a sword and they're waving it around and then they cut someone's head off and they tell the judge, oh, well, the person stuck their neck out in front of me. Imagine the judge saying, "Oh, okay, I see. Well, that case, you're not legally responsible for it." I mean, I know it's kind of a ridiculous example, but it's not that far off from someone being drunk and driving a car and then hitting someone and then saying, "Well, they jumped in front of me," and that's it. Like, it's just, and imagine if the genders were reversed in Australia. Can you see that happening? And then here's the sentence. Oates was sentenced to 14 months in prison with 6 months suspended, which basically means she won't do it, and will be released in 7 months' time, having already spent 1 month in custody. So 8 months total. And the amazing thing is this next part is she's not even losing her license. Oates has been disqualified from driving for 3 years upon her release from prison and fined $2,000. So she'll be driving again. I mean, really? Now, there's one factor that's relevant to this, and this was in the original video and the original articles, is that he had a restraining order against her from an episode of violence where she had been physically violent to him, and he had a restraining order, which just kind of makes her whole "why did he jump out in front of the car" thing a little bit less likely to believe, in my opinion. But anyway, everything's linked down below. Tell me what you think.